The Amityville Horror, the story of 112 Ocean Avenue. It all began on a quiet November evening in 1974, when 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr. entered a bar in Amityville, New York, and shouted, "You have to help me! Someone shot my mother and father." The shocked patrons immediately called the police, who rushed to the specified location, 112 Ocean Avenue. When the police arrived at the house, they discovered 6 bodies: Ronald's parents, his 2 brothers, and his 2 sisters. All of them had been shot with a .35 caliber rifle while they were in their beds. Strangely, none of the neighbors heard the gunshots, despite the loudness of the rifle. The police immediately suspected Ronald, who later confessed to killing his family. Ronald claimed that he heard voices telling him to commit the murders. His statements about the voices and demonic influence later became the basis for many theories and legends surrounding the house. In December 1975, just a year after the murders, the Lutz family, George and Kathy Lutz, and their 3 children, moved into the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. They knew about the horrific tragedy that had taken place there, but the house was sold at a very low price, which seemed like a great deal. The Lutzes lasted only 28 days in the house before strange and eerie events began to unfold. The family claimed that the house was filled with malevolent forces that sought to drive them out. In the first few days after moving in, George began waking up every morning at 3:15 a.m., the time when the DeFeo murders were believed to have occurred. He felt an intense chill despite the warm weather. Kathy noticed strange smells in the house, as if something was rotting. There were constant cold drafts in the house, even when doors and windows were closed. The Lutzes also claimed to see ghostly figures and demonic creatures. One of the most frightening incidents occurred when Kathy woke up to find herself being choked by an invisible force. She saw a strange face, resembling a sinister old man, in the mirror. The children also suffered from nightmares and claimed to see red eyes staring at them from outside their windows. George began to lose weight rapidly and became increasingly irritable, as if something was draining his energy. The situation became unbearable, and the Lutzes decided to invite a priest to bless the house. However, when the priest began the ritual, he felt a strong sense of danger and heard a voice telling him to leave. The priest advised the family to leave the house as he felt malevolent forces were present. Ultimately, after 28 days of staying in the house, the Lutzes left everything behind and fled, leaving the house in the condition it was in. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue drew significant media attention and became the subject of numerous books and films, starting with Jay Anson's The Amityville Horror, published in 1977. The story became one of the most famous horror tales in America. The Lutzes insisted that their stories were true, claiming that they really experienced the terrifying supernatural events. However, many skeptics doubt their stories, believing them to be either fabricated or exaggerated. Since then, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue has changed owners several times, and none of the subsequent residents reported any paranormal activity. Despite this, the story of the Amityville Horror continues to capture the attention of people and remains one of the most chilling and well-known horror stories in the USA. This chilling tale still sparks debates and interest among paranormal researchers, journalists, and ordinary people seeking answers to what really happened in the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. The Villisca Axe Murder House, the mystery of the Moore Farm. In the quiet and peaceful town of Villisca, Iowa in 1912, one of the most mysterious and horrifying murders in U.S. history took place. On the night of June 9, 1912, 8 people, including 6 children, were brutally murdered in their home. Farmer Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children lived in a cozy house on the outskirts of town. That evening, the Moore children invited 2 friends, Ina and Lena Stillinger, to stay over after Sunday church service. The family returned home around 9:30 p.m., unaware of the horror that awaited them. The next morning, neighbor Mary Peckham, concerned about the unusual quietness around the Moore house, decided to check on them. She knocked on doors and windows, but no one answered. She then called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, to help her enter the house. When Ross opened the door, he immediately sensed something was wrong. The house was eerily silent and dark, as if life had abandoned it. On the second floor, he found the bodies of Josiah and Sarah lying in bed. They had been brutally murdered with an axe. In the adjacent room, he found the bodies of their children and the two Stillinger girls, killed with the same weapon. The police were quickly summoned and began their investigation. The murders were committed with such brutality that it was hard to imagine anyone could do such a thing. The bodies were covered with sheets, and the mirrors and glass surfaces in the house were draped with cloth. The killer left the axe at the scene and washed their hands in the kitchen sink before leaving. The town was in shock. No one could believe that such a thing could happen in their peaceful community. Numerous interrogations and arrests followed, but no suspect was ever found guilty. Some believed it was the work of a drifter, while others suspected neighbors, but there was no concrete evidence. Since then, the Moore House became known as the Villisca Axe Murder House. Those who attempted to live there reported strange and eerie occurrences. Residents heard footsteps at night, whispers, and saw ghostly figures. Some claimed to see children playing in empty rooms or hear their laughter. The house became a pilgrimage site for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. Many of them claimed to feel a strong presence of something malevolent. Electronic devices often malfunctioned, and photographs showed strange light spots and shadows. The story of the Villisca Axe murders remains one of the most mysterious and unsolved cases in U.S. history. Despite numerous attempts to uncover the truth, the real killer was never found. The house in Villisca continues to attract people, eager to discover what really happened on that dreadful night in 1912. This chilling tale continues to send shivers down the spines of those who hear it, reminding us that even in the most serene and peaceful places, the most horrifying events can occur.